Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Welcome to the weekly gardening vlog. Today, we're going to be getting done some projects. I'm going to bring you guys along. I'm planning on building a very long, like a, what would you call it? Like just a vining tunnel, and I'm going to be building it out of cattle panels and 2x4s, and I'm not going to be securing it to the ground. And I'm not going to be using T-posts or anything like that. So it's a little bit unique. I haven't seen anything like this out there. We'll find out if there's a reason why we haven't seen this out there. And I will show you the process so you can kind of get an idea. Maybe where we're building it, we can't really go into the ground. It is just on top of some stuff that we can't really go into the ground on. So I've been thinking about this and pondering it for quite a while. And so we're going to go ahead and build one of these as a prototype, and then we'll have to build about 5 more, and I'll show you what I'm doing. We are in my shop right now, so it's going to be horrible lighting, but I'm just going to kind of very briefly do an overview of my first plan. I have 2 different plans, and this one is my more preferable plan. So we're going to try this one first. Hopefully it'll work. I really think it will. We've used this method with our greenhouses, so I think it'll be successful. This way is going to support 2 cattle panels, and it's going to take 2.5 of the 2x4s. So we're going to cut this in half twice with 2 different ways, 2 different saws. Right 2x4. Uh-oh, I gotta move you. Take this half. The next thing that we're going to do with these puppies is use a Craig's jig, and we're going to put a couple screws in here so that we can screw it, whatever, into the next one. So kind of my plan with this is, these are 8-foot long boards, right? You're all wet. Okay. So basically my plan here, these are 8-foot long 2x4s. I'm gonna put these 2x2s at the 2-foot mark. So then as I'm installing them and connecting them, there'll be one of these every 2 feet instead of 2 every 8 feet. I am hoping that doing it this way will give it a little bit more structural stability, and then we're just going to kind of go from there and see how it goes. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm just going to have to set it up and see if it works without you, because it's pouring down rain outside. Not pouring, but it's raining enough that I don't want to bring my camera out. So I will just come back and tell you the results of whether this works or not. How about that? When I was down there setting up the frame, I realized I'm working right next to the greenhouse. So me setting you guys, so I can actually set you guys inside of the greenhouse where you can be nice and toasty and warm, and you can watch me on the outside in the rain and the cold setting up this awesome melon trellis. So I don't know if you were able to catch that, but I was able to get it in there. I believe very firmly that this will hold the tensile strength of the cattle panels. The only issue is that I now understand why people use the T-posts. And I don't know if you could notice, but when I put it on there, like, it would just bow and sway back and forth, and it wouldn't actually stay on there. Like, if I let it go, it would have just completely fallen over to one side and toppled over. And I don't think that my securing it, I don't think if I secured it with, what are they, fencing staples, the things that I was going to hammer it in with, I don't think that that will hold it against any kind of a windstorm. So adjusting my plan for now, while it's kind of sprinkling outside, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to tend to my tomatoes, and then kind of mull it over in my head what I want to do, and then I'll probably run to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever I feel like going, and I'll pick up the supplies, and we will resume this whenever it stops raining. It is the next day. Yesterday, I just ended up finishing one of the cattle panel tunnel parts, one of the 8-foot parts, and I ended up stopping because mostly it was really dark, and also I wanted to get some taller posts. I think the 3-foot ones were just not tall enough, so I went and exchanged them and got some 4-foot ones, and I feel like I've kind of perfected the technique with these. So I'm going to bring you along, and I'm going to kind of show you what I've figured out, the measurements that I use, and kind of how I'm slapping this thing together. Very briefly, just in case that anybody out there is curious about it, and I've spent some time figuring out all the measurements and where to put everything, how it fits together the best, in my personal opinion, and so I just figured I'd show you what I figured out. First thing I do is just measure these 2 feet in on both sides. Then I go ahead and I'm just lining up these on the center of that mark. So the center of the 2x4 is going to be the marking where I put on there, and that way every 4 feet through the structure there's going to be like one of these. I feel like it might just give it a little bit more stability. It could not, I have no idea, but that's what I'm doing. I figure it's better to have one every 4 feet than 2 every 8 feet. That was kind of just my thinking. So I've already pre-drilled holes with a Craig's jig, and so I'm going to go ahead and just put these screws in there. So next comes the measuring for the posts. I have found that it's awkward to carry it down, but the ease of doing it up here versus trying to do it down there in the field kind of outweighs that for the most part. It was supposed to be a clear day today, but apparently the weather's changed its mind. So I need to get you undercover, and I'll just have to explain what I'm doing later on when it clears up once I've actually built them. Now that we have the base down here, I'm going to show you what I'm doing now that I'm actually down here. They're not set in perfect place, and that second one you'll notice is a little bit off-sized. And that is because when I went to the store today and bought 2x4s, I stupidly did not double check that I was buying the 8-foot one, so I ended up buying the stud size, and they're a little bit shorter. I didn't notice that when I went to cut them in half, so I cut one at 48 inches and then the other one was 44 and a half. So I had to cut, and I had already cut a lot of, almost all of them, so I ended up having to cut them to 44 and a half inches. So that's why they're a little bit shorter. And that one is in terrible condition. I'm sure you can see the bow. And so I'm gonna go ahead and over here with the 2x2, terrible idea. Awful. Strike it from your memory. Never try it with something like this. It's not enough support. You got to do the 2x4. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the cattle panels for this. I'm going to show you a little trick that I have learned because I've had to carry a lot of cattle panels. It doesn't work in every situation, but when you have the space for it, it's the best way to carry it. It's the least frustrating, I've found. It. So all you do is you just wrap it up and carry the two ends on your back, and I kind of just lean forward as I'm walking, and you can get kind of up and around objects that might be kind of low on the ground. So huge time saver and frustration saver. So I find that just kind of wedging the bottom on this 2x4 and then just pulling it up. Shucks, it worked last time. obviously are very big and very awkward. You have to kind of futz with them a little bit, but especially when you're doing it through. And there's a slight downward hill slope. And then you just kind of whittle it down. Not whittle, wobble. Walk it. So we got both the cattle panels on, and you can see that I have them lined up with the posts. And sometimes these things will be have a little bit of give to it, but I haven't found it to be an issue yet. Time will tell. But so these things are obviously going to run, perpendicular. They're going to run straight up and down. So I just lined up these with the cattle panels. So you can see that these ones are run on the outside. You want to make sure that these ones that run this direction are on the outside. And you can see that's because it rests here on the supports, right? And if these ones kind of hold it together, and if it were reverse, then all the ones that are in between these posts here, it would eventually, the welds I feel would kind of give out. So that's why I do it that direction. It just makes the most sense to me, and I feel like it gives it an extra layer of support. And then as you can see, I have an 8-foot board here, right? This is exactly 8 feet. The length is 8 feet. And I came through and measured here. This one is on the second one, and that is 12 inches. And then that one is 14 inches in. And then this T-post is 50 inches from that side. Very important. You want to make sure you don't mess that up. Otherwise, these joints will be off. Where they join will be off alignment. So very important on that one. And then you can see I have it on there I did the screw in the pole at the bottom. And then we have, this is like a metal pipe tape type thing. And it's made to secure pipes, basically, from my understanding. So I just took a 3-inch length of it, tucked it underneath this little lip thing that's here. And then you can see it's all the way up here. And so I just tucked it underneath here for a little bit more support to hold it in place, and then screwed it on either side. And I found it helpful. The first screw that I put in, I didn't tighten it all the way. And then the second screw that I put in, I tightened it all the way. And then I came back and tightened this one completely, and that helped it get a little bit more snug. One thing that I'm not sure if I emphasized here is the way that I lapped these over. There's a 4-inch overlap on these, and that's why I've kind of aligned it here with this center post. And the one that had the one that's at the 50-inch mark is this one here. This one's on the inside. I kind of just feel like it gives it a little bit more support to kind of have this little bit of an overhang right here being on the outside. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it has any part to it, but it makes sense to me. Next, what I do with this is zip tie it. I wish I had some stronger zip ties. All I could find was 75 pounds at the store that I was at for a reasonable price, because I need to use a lot of them. And so that's what we're gonna use. And if these fail, I'll just, redo them. So all I do is I tuck it underneath here. You can kind of pull it up a little bit if you need to. There we go. And then loop it up around. And zip tie it in place. Next, what I'm doing is on this top one, the rung that is the highest one up, I'm just doing another zip tie. And I'm doing these on the inside just simply so that they're more attractive from the outside. I'm going to come through and snip all of these off, but I just feel like it's just more attractive from the outside. Get a bug on you. Now that I've secured the two that are on the 14-inch side, I'm going to go ahead and try and kind of shimmy these joint pieces in to be in alignment, and then that's the most difficult part of this, is just getting these in alignment. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to doing this. It's just kind of finagling it and getting it in the right spot. The most important thing is you want to make sure that to the best of your ability and anytime possible, you want to put these posts where there's like a joint that you can secure this to, it'll make it a lot more secure. And the lean of this second one, you can see just how terrible of an idea that was. I mean, you never know until you know, and that's why you only do one at a time so that you can tweak it. And I don't think you can see it as well here, but it's just totally coming apart. I mean, I give it maybe like 3 or 4 more hours until this thing just completely gives way. So with this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come through. My husband should be home anytime. I think it's a 2-person project to fix it, only because it's shorter. And so I'm going to have him hold one side while I'm screwing him in. So as soon as he gets here, I'm going to fix this one. So I'm just going to buzz through the rest of these. There's only 2 left, and fixing one and then 2 more left. I should be able to get it done within an hour, and then just in time to start cooking some dinner. So I am going to go do that, and I'll bring you back and show you kind of the finished result. We are back. It is the next day. I was able to get all of these finished. Robert was able to help me get that other one fixed, and we're just totally done with the 40-foot long cattle panel trellis. So I thought it looked pretty darn neat. It's not perfect and it's not like completely set up in alignment, but we're pretty close. So I am definitely extremely excited to have this thing done. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to move on, and I'm going to start planting in the green stalk planters up there. I'm going to plant the things that I have for it, and then we're going to pot some of our squashes. One thing that happened last night, I found this morning, that was really, really disheartening. Something came along, I don't know if it was my cats or it was like a possum or a mouse or something came along and really dug into my garden, especially the peppers and somewhat the tomatoes. They uprooted, I'd say at least a third of the peppers, and they uprooted probably 3 of the tomatoes. I was able to get all of them back into the ground, but a lot of them, I don't know what variety they are because they got like torn away from the tags, and my experiment with the egg versus not egg is totally out of the gone. It kind of seemed like they were trying to dig up the eggs. So whatever it was, they just came along and they just dug really deep down in here, and oftentimes the egg shell was missing. So whatever it was going after those. I don't know if it was cats or if it was something else. Most of the holes seemed a little bit too small for my cats to have made, and it's not something that they've ever done before. They've kind of dug a little bit just as like to basically to go potty in, but that's about it. They haven't really, they're not hole diggers. They like to lay in my plants. They like to poop in my plants, but they don't like dig it up, and they certainly don't really care for rotten old eggs. So that's kind of what makes me believe it's something else. And I'm going to be staying up late tonight to see if they come back. But you can see like the eggshells and everything, they're just dug up. All my tags are everywhere. I have no idea what quite a large number of these peppers are, but we'll find out. All of the ones I grew, with the exception of like different varieties of like jalapenos and stuff, other than that, you know, they're pretty different. So I'm not too super concerned about that. I shouldn't have an issue with like which one's hot, which one's not. Because I mean, for the most part, all the sweet peppers are over there in that corner, and they all look like sweet peppers. They're all big bell peppers for the most part. So I will insert some footage somewhere in here if I haven't already. I took some footage with my cell phone this morning because I was just really frustrated, and so it's kind of some crummy footage, but it's what I got. I was really kind of bummed this morning, so I just got what I could and then moved on. So after I filmed the video last night, another night passed and we had another attack. I just wanted to kind of show you. You can see this time the holes are much larger than they were last time, and like they completely uprooted this. Like you can see, like the holes are pretty darn big. There's 2 of these. I think it was 3 or 4 of the tomatoes were uprooted. A lot of them were just dug in. Like you can see these ones here just got dug into. And then like this one, there's 2 holes side by side. Some are just dug and they stopped. This one's dug into, like this one, I came upon it like this, like, oh, because they had dug it up and I had it kind of sort of trellised here. And then this one, you know, it's a pretty big hole. But the peppers are the worst of it. See? This is the side that was heavily dug up last time. And they still dug up, you know, a few of them. So I obviously have no idea what any of my peppers are going to be this year. It's going to be a surprise. But this half of the bed, there's literally 2 peppers that are still in the ground. Every single other one was dug up. It's just insane. I don't know if this is cats. It doesn't seem like something that they would do. They've never done anything like this before. But I'm almost starting to think it could be the cats. I don't know. So if you have any idea what this could be and how to prevent it, other than obviously I'm never going to plant my stuff with eggs again. This is just insane. It's like very obvious that they're just digging in here for the eggs. Whatever it is, they want those eggs. So if you have ideas, please let me know below. Now it's time to plant the green stock. The garden is definitely starting to fill in. I'm pretty stoked. Just wait till that tunnel fills in. My goodness, it's gonna be beautiful, even more so. It is now 9:17. Daylight is ending very, very quickly. So at least the daylight that you guys can see. So I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for this weekend. And I will bring you back next weekend and show you what I ended up planting in this, as well as what I end up figuring out. I'll probably end up filling it up by the end of the week. We shall see. And I will keep you informed and tell you next week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you drew some inspiration. Maybe got some ideas. If you do, let me know down below. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.